There they are, led by that man. That man was the main man. He was the difference.
Hello and welcome to episode 33 of Radio Cricket. That's 33, the same number of brain cells I felt die when Ravi Shastri referred to Alistair Cook as Captain Masterchef. Speaking to you live from Czech Republic, I'm Nishant Joshi, and I'm joined as usual by the man who brings a tinge of colour to this podcast, and by colour I mean pasty white. It is, of course, James Marsh.
Yes, indeed, Nishant, and I'm actually white with shock at Steve Smith not winning the BBC Overseas Sports Personality of the Year yesterday. But anyway, I've been buoyed by England's great, surprising, incredible, really, victory in India. They clinched the series 2-1, of course, with a draw in Nagpur. So, Nishant, what were your thoughts on this test match and the series in general?
Well, James, first of all, I'm sure you'll join me in congratulating England in their first series victory in India in 28 years. And, of course, it was quite an incredible turnaround from England after the first test defeat at Ahmedabad. Most pundits did expect a 4-0 whitewash to India, or at least a comprehensive series victory. England really didn't have much to write home about in that first test, except Alistair Cook's first innings vigil, and he did end up as top scorer on either side in the series, with 3 centuries and 562 runs at an average of 80. It really was one of the most incredible performances by a captain we've seen in recent times. He really did lead by the front, and along with Kevin Peterson, who perhaps from England's point of view gave the series defining innings with a knock of 186 at Mumbai on a real spinner's track. That really was the momentum changer as far as England's tour went. Of course, they were ably supported by their spinners, and a lot has been made about India's batsmen and their failures during this tour, but I think it's fair to say that England's spinners actually outbowled India's spinners, in particular Monty Panesar and Graham Swan, who picked up 37 wickets between them in the tour. He really did prove a lot of people wrong after being recalled for the second test, after being overlooked for the first in favour of Sumit Patel. As far as England goes, they have nothing but positives to take from the series, in stark contrast to India, who really do have to do a lot of soul-searching now, wouldn't you say, James?
Well, I would, indeed. Yes, I mean, it was very much a tale of two captains, I think, because I once wrote a piece suggesting that Dhoni should be cloned and his DNA buried 100 kilometres beneath the ground so that future generations could rebuild humanity if the asteroid came. But I doubt too many Indian fans feel that way now. He actually seems a lot more animated in this test, and of course he made 99 before he was run out by his opposite number, which was perhaps strangely appropriate because it just didn't seem that that innings deserved a century because it came so late, and also because he spent 77 minutes in the 90s at that time. But that did make him the first test captain and also the first wicketkeeper to ever be run out on 99. In a way, you did almost feel a bit sorry for Dhoni with the pitch that was served up at Nagpur. It had less life than a necrophiliac's dating agency, Nishant. But India didn't help themselves in forcing the issue. It seemed quite extraordinary that Dhoni decided that they should bat on for too long on that fourth morning. And actually, when Monty Panesar dismissed Oja, I've never seen a bowler, let alone Monty, look so pissed off about taking a wicket, because even England was sort of standing around wondering, why on earth are you still pissing about out here batting India? So again, if we're talking about the conservatism of India, I think certainly that was one incident which didn't help Dhoni's cause. From an England point of view, there's still this element of conservatism to flower. Bresnan's inclusion still seemed a bit safety first, and Bresnan himself has actually taken 2 for 420 now in his last 5 innings. Also, he almost seemed reluctant to bring Panesar in for Stuart Broad, but it's clearly difficult to let something so beautiful go, Nishant. But on the subject of letting beautiful things go, where do you now stand on the Sachin debate?
Sachin Tendulkar, obviously an ever curious case. There was increasing speculation towards the end of this test match that his innings at Nagpur might be his last. As it turned out, he hasn't announced his retirement or anything of that sort. It does seem like he will play on and wait for the Australia series and see how that goes in a few months' time in India. However, they do say age is only a number and that numbers don't really matter. But I would counter-argue that by saying numbers do matter when they are 76 runs at 18.6. Of course, this is Sachin Tendulkar's tally for this India versus England series. It is his worst ever return in a series of 4 or more tests. So there is no doubt that he's on the decline, but at the same time, I was so riled by Gambhir and Sehwag's attitude in the past few tests that it kind of made me want to give Sachin another chance. It kind of made me want to give him infinite chances over India's opening pair right now. And I'd like to single out Sehwag in particular in this case, as he used to be at least a reliable slipper, or at the very least not a complete liability. But especially on the final day at Nagpur, he did look like he'd come off a hard day of presenting man versus food.
Well, yes, I mean, he was poor in this series. I mean, I think he has taken a few sort of gravity-defying catches at slip this year. I remember he took a couple against New Zealand, but yes, it was a pretty shoddy display in this particular test match. But anyway, I think for me that it's possibly as much attitudinal as statistical, the problems for India. And I think the thing that perhaps players like Gambhir, Zahir, Sehwag and even Ishant have to worry about is more the sort of vibrancy and skill of people like Kohli and Jadeja in the field as much as when they're at the crease. So if we could just move on to what might be a sort of chink of light for India, Nishant. And I mean, of course, I must ask you, as his hair guru and unofficial agent, what you made of Jadeja's debut overall. I mean, if I could just play devil's advocate for a minute, he was described as a net bowler by David Bumble Lloyd throughout this test match. He was very economical. He went for just 1.67 runs and over, which is actually 5.4 times more economical than Shane Warne over in the Big Bash. He made only 12 with the bat, but, you know, we have to say it was an incredibly fluent 12. You were obviously delighted to see Jadeja come in, so what were your thoughts of his performance overall?
Well, James, if you allowed me to put on my Shastri hat for a moment, then I would retort to that by saying, who is David Lloyd? Has he ever bowled left-arm spin? Oh, wait, he probably has, hasn't he? What does he know about left-arm spin? I mean, he called Jadeja a net bowler, but if we're being fair, then everybody is technically a net bowler. So I don't really disagree with him in that respect. And also, James, I'd like to point you out on one matter as well. You called Jadeja's turn at Nagpur a debut. I prefer to call it a miracle virgin birth, the likes of which we have not seen since the likes of Archie Jackson in the late 1920s. So it was slightly underwhelming from a statistical point of view, but as we know, cricket isn't really a sport to be played by the books. I mean, what are a few numbers here and there? I mean, the most important number, as we all knew coming into this test match, was his economy rate. He did his job, holding up an end, foxing both John Trott and Kevin Peterson with deceptively slow straight balls, which both batsmen left. And I think that's the sort of mystery and guile which we really do lack these days in the Indian side. And I think he'll be a welcome addition. Of course, he was demoted to number 7 in the first innings. I think mentally, this kind of threw him. Of course, he was given a howler by Kumar Dharmasena against James Anderson. It was an LBW which many pundits instantly raised their fingers at home. I think there was an obvious inside edge which Hotspot would have shown, but sadly, Jadeja, being the unlucky man that he is, born under a bad sign.
Yes, indeed. Well, born under the same sun as Ravi Shastri, perhaps. But anyway, just on the subject of mystery, Nishant, I should ask you about Jadeja's quadruple bouncing arm ball, which he bowled to Jonathan Trott. I mean, it's to Trott's great credit that he was able to read it, but perhaps it was a sign of the mystery and wonder that we have to come from Jadeja. But just looking at the series in the round, I think it's going to be quite interesting. We'll get some proper perspective on it when Australia do actually turn up in India for a 4-test series starting in February. But I think before that, India are playing ODI and T20 series against both England and Pakistan. And I think in some respects, the worst thing that could happen for India is if they again whitewash England. I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen this time round. But if they perform well in those series, and then even if the test series doesn't go to plan, the IPL will then follow on after it, when of course we'll have the all-new Pepsi Maximums. And do you think, Nishant, that then that could just feed back into perhaps this sort of sense of denial that perhaps India and the likes of Ravi Shastri have, and will prevent them from bringing on a lot of youngsters, which many people think should be coming into the team now.
Well, yeah, James, I do think you've pretty much hit the nail on the head, because this ODI and T20 series, of course, especially against Pakistan, it's going to be massively hyped up. And if India actually win it, which I suppose they're favourites for in any case, of course, it will almost serve as an anaesthetic to kind of dull the pain of this test defeat, and people kind of forget about it pretty quickly. And of course, this test series was billed as a revenge series by, guess who, Gautam Gambhir in the first place. And of course, that was picked up by the media. And at the same time, if India win the ODI series against England as well, then I suppose Gautam Gambhir will term that as a revenge series as well. It seems like every single series for Gambhir and India seems to be some sort of revenge. It seems to be some sort of misplaced sense of injustice, which they keep on seeming to try to correct. And it seems like they're almost playing the victim, even though the BCCI is the most powerful board in the history of world cricket. So yeah, I do think that, as you say, it could prove to be a false dawn to win in these ODIs. And I actually tweeted a few days ago that perhaps real Indian fans would actually be cheering on a defeat in this test series.
And that brings us to the end of another episode of Radio Cricket. Thank you for joining us. You can find us on soundcloud.com/Radio Cricket, or you can search for Radio Cricket in iTunes. We hope to be back with a festive special next week, when we'll hopefully be full of Christmas cheer and sounding like Asad Ralph ordering room service, saying ho ho ho. But for now, I've been James Marsh.
And I've been Nishant Joshi, and I will leave the BCCI with a piece of advice as they begin their search for introspection. If you've cleaned your whole house and it still smells of shit, it's time to take a shower. Goodbye.
I think it was a very poor performance. One of the worst things I have ever seen done on a cricket field. Good night.